Hi everyone, welcome to Daily IELTS English. Today is a special episode where I'm just going to talk about something that drives me crazy about IELTS preparation, students doing this, and even worse, teachers teaching this. Now, first of all, I don't want to rip on the teachers a lot. I think you're working very hard, you're doing your best, but please, there's one area where you can do better. A lot of times when I've watched IELTS tutorials online, very often when they're talking about these questions, they'll say, and if you don't know, just lie. And it drives me a little bit crazy because one, it's lazy. You're a teacher. Like, don't teach your students to lie. I understand that sometimes there's questions that might be a little bit unusual or difficult, but when a teacher just says, oh, just lie, it's no problem, I think that's really awful advice. And I really hope that your teachers aren't telling you that if you're preparing for your test. Now, I completely understand if you got a question and you just have no idea how to deal with it, lying might be an option, but I would not be preparing for the test that way. Secondly, it's hard to lie effectively. It's really not easy. And I know this because for 5 years, I watched students, and you could kind of see when they were lying, nothing good was happening with their English. They weren't lying and using good vocabulary. They weren't lying and using good grammar. A lot of times it was like, and it just looked really sad. There were times where I was doing IELTS simulations, so giving people questions, giving them feedback. And I said, what happened? You just kept going and. I said, oh, I was lying. And so I would then start asking them a few questions about their question. And after about 10 seconds, they actually had a good answer. But their teachers had told them to lie. Also, it's hard to lie. I saw one YouTube video where the teacher was saying, just lie. And then he tried to demonstrate lying. And after about 10 seconds, he failed. Like, he literally stopped in the middle of his lie because he couldn't do it. Lying is not easy, and you are not a sociopath. So please, let's stop the idea that just lie is okay. Also, please remember, these tests are very, very carefully made. There are not a lot of questions where you should have to lie. Admittedly, it's possible that you've gotten a question like, describe an encounter with a wild animal that you've had. And I remember that question from a long time ago, and I thought, maybe that would be hard if you've grown up in a city. It's possible that's hard. Describe a holiday you've taken near water, right? That's quite specific. Maybe there's a problem with that. And so it's possible you'll get these questions, but if you're teaching IELTS or preparing for IELTS, two things. First of all, if you look at these questions when you're preparing, take the time to actually think about a possible answer. Don't worry about answering it quickly when you're preparing, but think, okay, water. Have I been on a holiday near water? If you actually take a few minutes and think about it, you'll probably come up with a really good answer. And then, next time you get a hard question, your brain will have the habit of going back and thinking of a good answer. That's really the main thing I want to say, is take the hard questions and use them to train yourself to have better answers. It's not just for your IELTS score, it's for your English. Also, if you're planning, if you need this test for work, if you need this test for school, you kind of need that reflective ability. Guys, if you're trying to get a 7 or an 8, it's not just your English, it's your way of thinking that you need to work on. That is the main thing. You need to have the habit and the reflex, the mental muscle to take these hard questions and give good answers. Two common topics that create problems for people are fashion and sports. And it's surprising how often when we have these questions in a class, the student's like, I don't like this question. I don't know. I don't do it. And in less than 5 minutes, they're giving really good answers. The second thing I want you to remember is that the hard questions are teaching you. The hard questions are giving you an opportunity to build that mental muscle. Let's take this commonly problematic topic of fashion. Describe a piece of clothing that you really like. Half the time, my students, especially guys, they go, I don't know, I have no idea. One student was adamant, like, I don't care about my clothes. And I just took a look. I said, look at your socks. And he had these like funky socks that he bought. They had avocados on them. I don't know why. And he was like, oh yeah, I love these socks. I saw them at a shop a few weeks ago and I bought them and I wear them sometimes twice a week. And he talked then for forever about his socks. And it was great because he said, yeah, usually I don't really care about fashion, but, and he, without even really thinking, he started using all these other really good techniques for extending his ideas. Then he started talking about like his sweater that he wore when he went to sleep at night. And he talked for another 2-3 minutes about this jumper he was wearing. And so just by, me asking him a couple of easy questions, his English got way better. His answer got way better. Another common one is about sports. Describe a sporting event you went to. And a lot of times people just go, oh, I don't like sports. And that's not the question. Or remember, if you don't like sports, include that in your answer. One young lady said, oh, I don't like sports. My dad used to make me come with him to baseball games. And you can see where this is going. Now she was talking nonstop about this baseball game that she went to with her father and how she didn't like going. And then it got really quite emotional how eventually she told her father she didn't want to go anymore. And she was she wasn't thinking about her English. She was just having a conversation. She was just talking uninterrupted about her experiences going to a sports event. So remember that. The difficult questions are training you to be better. So those are the two main things. And remember, practice those ones. Whenever you get hard questions, whenever you get questions that you don't want to talk about, really dive into those questions. If you're a teacher teaching, encourage that. Please don't tell your students to just lie. So please, I would love to see, tell me in the comments below, what are some of the questions you hate in IELTS? And then I'd love to see you actually take a few minutes, think about your answers, write them down below. I'd love to read them. All right, and remember, this is all about habits. Language is a habit. If you practice this, when the test comes, it's gonna be easy. It's gonna be a reflex. The last thing you wanna do is be thinking about strategy when you're sitting there in the test because you probably won't remember anything. So it should all be habits. I'll see you tomorrow.